What's happening, people? Welcome back to Park Lane Podcast, episode number 66. And it is the first episode of the new year. I hope you're all doing well, and we are very sorry for the delay. We've all got new gear, and none of it works. So, actually, to be fair on Harry's does work, but mine and everybody else's doesn't seem to work. But, H, how are you doing today? You good?
No, very good, thank you. I'm looking forward to obviously discussing our last game and obviously Man United game, so looking forward to it.
Amazing. And Callum, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. I've just realised that I've got a shiny light here, so I know that's just going to annoy me some way throughout this show. So we'll see.
Well, do you know what? After all that technical chat, and don't worry, we'll get into it in a minute. After all that technical stuff at the start and all the delays, as soon as I hit go and played the intro, no sound came out of my computer at all. And so I just assumed that everything had died, but then everyone could hear me, so life is good. I just had to guess when the intro was about to end. Anyway, let's get into it and give a few people a shout out. But obviously, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you're listening on any podcast platform, leave us a 5-star review. Jay came in nice and early and said, "Good evening, lads. Hope you all had a good Christmas and a new year. Look forward to shows this year." Barney has said, "Good evening, lads. Looking forward to watching the shows this year. Big up as always." And David Clark, hello from Leicester. Hope all is well in the chat. Big up to you, David, as well. Thanks for joining us. And let's get into it because we've had quite a lot of games since our Christmas quiz, and don't worry, everyone. We're not going to go through every single game in long detail. Just kind of want to talk to each person about each game and kind of just get your feedback. So the unlucky one today to start us off is Harry to talk about Spurs against Everton, where we beat Everton 2-1. I did write some notes to kind of help you out a little bit. So Rich and Son scored, and then we seemed to kind of take our foot off the gas as soon as we went 2-0 up. What were your thoughts in that game that ended 2-1?
I wasn't that impressed because I thought, being honest with you, we rode our luck for a lot of periods, in that game. Let's be honest, Everton, a couple of chances toward the end. Personally, Calvert-Lewin's goal was disallowed. I'm still not sure if that's the right decision. I'm glad it went in our favour, but for me, it's one of those that it's given by one referee, but disallowed by the other. And obviously, Danjuma's huge chance toward the end. That wasn't for Vicare. Obviously, that goes in with majority other keepers. So happy to win the game. I think we're really good in the first half, but again, it's a case of we can't seem to consistently perform and keep it up for 90 minutes. And again, no disrespect to Everton, they've been on a great run recently, but an even better opposition, your Manchester Cities, etc., your Liverpools, then you do wonder if they've been able to complete the full comeback. So happy to get 3 points, but room for improvement.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I think we were extremely lucky in that game to not either draw or lose, because I think as soon as we went 2, we were absolutely sensational to went 2-0 up, and then we were just absolutely terrible for the rest of the game. And as you say, Danjuma was unlucky to not get the equaliser. Callum, talk to me about Brighton. Christ alive, Brighton 4, Spurs 2. Talk to me about that game because it had it all, didn't it? 2 penalties for Brighton. A near comeback from Spurs.
One of them where I was definitely wishing they weren't on Amazon, that everyone could watch it. It was a really dogged game, and for about 70 minutes, we looked like we didn't care. We looked like we'd just taken a coach load of fans down there and just thought, right, we'll just have a kick about the field and see what it was going to do. It was really not good. And yeah, don't get me wrong, the comeback was all right to see, but too little too late. And yeah, we could have probably got about 4 goals or even 5 in that last 10 minutes. But it just shows how disjointed we were and how ready just to go, Christmas time is ahead and all that. Or, well, New Year's, actually. I think they was just waiting to go out and get pissed. I'm not going to lie. It was really not good, and it really left a sour taste in my mouth. I knew we was going to have these results, Vange, but I think all of us, we was all messaging that night going, what the hell is going on, because we had a good team out that night. We was being serious, and this team just didn't turn up. Simple as that.
Yeah, they were dreadful against Brighton, to be honest. You know, they set up well. Brighton were clever. They set up with a low block and a quick counter attack, and to be honest, that's one of the hardest things for us to compete against. With a low block, we struggle to break them down, and then a quick counter attack, you know, with our inverted fullbacks and stuff, is a kind of killer for us. But David said, with the side that we've got at the moment, I'm just glad that we're getting anything from these games. Do you agree, Harry, that this side needs serious improvement?
I think it needs improvement. I think some people go over the top with what exactly is needed. Obviously, I know we get onto Timo Werner now as a Spurs player. That's fixed the problem for me. It's just about getting a centre back in the door. So defensively, like you look against Brighton, and like Callum says, we could have easily scored 4 or 5. In terms of an attacking performance, well, I think anyway, you score 2-3 goals at the Amex, you should be able to win the game, or certainly get something out of it. So that's where we need to improve defensively. But again, you know, you put no centre back on the pitch, then you're going to concede goals. Let's face it. So that's something that comes with it. So yeah, we're really poor. I think the midfield protect the defence against Brighton, etc. But yeah, there's need for improvement. But I do think people go a bit up and beyond. We nearly came back against Brighton. It just wasn't our day. It was a bit of poor defending. In terms of long term, I think this team, we're getting players back, and I know that we're going to really push on.
Yeah, definitely. Let's go back to you then, H, and talk about the 3-1 win against Bournemouth. We have goals from Sarr, who then suffered what looked like, quite a bad injury. I'm not sure kind of the extent of it now. Son scored and then Richie scored. Yeah. Again, we did concede, so that's 3 games in a row with no clean sheet. But, I don't think you can complain too much. What were your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, well, firstly, I was there, and I was impressed with the performance, especially going forward. But again, Alex Scott comes on, obviously gets the goal, has a goal disallowed. So there's periods in the game where you go, if that maybe fell to a different player or he timed his run, then we would love it. We'd be in trouble. But in terms of going forward, I have no worries with this. Wow, I have no worries with this team. But again, it's another game without a clean sheet. Luckily, Sarr. Well, I say luckily. Luckily, it is not serious, but he has travelled, I do believe, with Senegal, and he went pretty much the next morning. So it's good to see he's okay, but I was kind of hoping, I don't want your injury to be too bad, but if you can stay, it would be great, but it is what it is. So this team, for me, all things considered, the players unavailable, and like we're seeing now with AFCON, etc., I think we're actually punching above our weight.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Callum, quickly on the injury front and why we are sustaining so many injuries? Because, let's not forget injuries to Valise as well as happened. We've got Mickey van der Ven out. We've had Romero out. We've got James Maddison out. We've Sarr got injured, but luckily potentially looks okay. The list goes on and on and on. What's your thoughts on why we're getting so many?
I think it's a couple of things, mate, because Angie's style demands a lot of high-line pressing, so you're always going to get a lot more fatigue in your muscles. You're going to pull up with hamstring strains and different like that. But I think the Premier League this year has been a lot more dirty than the last couple of years than we've seen as well, and we're just unlucky. Simple as that. I don't think it's anything a personal agenda by anyone, or like every other team says, you got to protect my player like a certain club did and all that. So the PMGOL and all of that. It's that you're just unlucky. We were on a run of 10, 12 games unbeaten, and we just got 2-3 injuries which derailed us, and then it's just followed on from there. So, I mean, Valise doing his leg in, him hobbling about and running about probably didn't help it when he was on at Bournemouth. The fact that Bentancur came back probably too early, maybe from injury as well. It's just one of them. And linking it into the question you asked Harry as well, with does this squad need improvement? No, it doesn't really, because within a month, 4 or 5 of these players are going to be back. So if you make drastic steps of bringing in 6 players, we've already got an overinflated squad with a lot of dross. And if you bring that many players in, you're going to have a lot of competition in there. But you're also going to have a very toxic atmosphere, where people are going to be very unhappy with their playing time at the end of the day. It's why if people want to go out and get 2 centre-backs this year, it's a no-go because you need 2 starters. Realistically, if you get Dragusin, then you've got Davis as well, there's your 4. If you're playing a back 3, then you need 6. You need 4, though. It's pointless us going and saying we're going to get a Tadibo as well because it's pointless. And just having injuries rack up, it's just bad luck. Yeah, Perisic's got one. Solomon's got one. Still got Brian Hill. Yeah, I don't rate him that much, but we've still got players in them positions who can play them. So you've got to have faith in them to actually play as well.
Yeah, no, you are right, mate. And I think that we will get on to transfers. The second part of the show is only going to be talking about transfers. But I did kind of want to say about that there won't be 2 centre backs. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be 1 centre back, and then hopefully we see someone like Eric Dyer leave the football club, so that can be over and done with. But it's, as you say, it is about freeing it up. Callum, I've been playing a bit of Football Manager, over the Christmas break, and it's tough to register your squad. It is tough to register your squad at Spurs. You've got to get rid of a lot of players to make good signings to be able to register the right amount, the 25-man squad to fit and fill all the criteria that you need. So it's not as easy, as it can be. But David said, Spurs fans who blame the medical team just don't know football. Look at Liverpool injury list. Nobody is blaming their medical team. The 3 teams with the most injuries are high energy sides. And I think that's 100% correct. The harder that you work and the faster that you run and the more you put into tackles and everything else, you are going to sustain more injuries. So, that's kind of it really. But let's move on, talk about this week's game. So obviously we played on Friday night in the FA Cup third round at home against Burnley. Good win in the end. We got there and we didn't change the side, H. She didn't have to block too many people on Twitter. And, I felt like in the end we definitely deserved the victory. I think that we didn't play as well as we could have played, but I think we definitely deserved to win. We definitely miss a striker, though, which kind of moves us on to what we will talk about in a little bit. But what were your thoughts, Harry, with the win on Friday night?
Firstly, just happy we're through to round 4 because I said I don't care how we do it. Ugly, beautiful, just as long as we go through. So that's perfect. This may sound strange, but I was more satisfied with our performance in the Brighton game than I was against Burnley, purely because Brighton, we've had that fighting spirit to come back, but I guess we won against Burnley. So you look at, in terms of result, very happy against Burnley, but again, towards the end, I think we rode a luck. I don't know how that doesn't go in from Burnley. Last kick of the game, not being funny again, that falls to Foster, who was obviously taken off at half time. He puts that in the back of the net. So I think we should consider ourselves grateful, but there's need for greater performance. However, I think Burnley learned, and they proved me wrong. They came here with a low block and set up on the counter attack, and I still think I don't know the reasoning for it. But if Foster was on the pitch to the end, I personally think it could have been a different outcome. But it doesn't matter. We're through to round 4, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think with Lyle Foster, I think they're taking it easy with him because he's had a lot of personal problems as well. I think issues with mental health.
Right. Yeah, I
so
don't know.
That, as far as I'm aware, that's kind of what's holding him back. But we do have a special guest joining us, who I'll bring in now, and it's Dave.
Hey, there we go.
It's in.
How we doing?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. How are you?
Oh yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm tired tonight, but I thought I'd drop on and say hello. Obviously, it's been a while since I've been on. Some of you may not know I've got some health problems at the moment, which are kind of restricting me a little bit. But hey ho, keep moving forward, don't we?
Exactly, mate. It's good to see you. It's good to see you, and it's good to have you joining us for a bit. What were your thoughts on Friday night's FA Cup game while we were there?
Oh God, it was boring, wasn't it? Oh my God! I've reached on my phone round. Hang on, because I'm at that weird angle. Now I'm upside down. There we go. Oh God, it was so boring, mate. I was bored to tears. Like, I'm tired enough at the moment as it is. But watching that, I felt like I was just slept for 3 days. It was terrible. But mate, it's one of them ones where, like I told you before that I'm happy. Like I'm comfortable being a Spurs fan at the moment, and when was the last time you heard me say that? But I'm generally comfortable being a Tottenham fan. I'm positive, but I don't think it's negative. But yeah, things are good, mate. I think people get ahead of themselves a little bit, obviously with the run of losses we had, but you have to take injuries into account. You have to factor in all the problems we come across. We've lost some key players. I think we're missing 10 players now, including injuries and international duty and things like that. So get busy in the market, Levy. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting one, isn't it? Because like as you say, mate, I've done this show with you for a long time, and like this is probably the best football that we're playing in that time that we've been doing it, and you seem the happiest. Like to me, it seems, and like I've always said this about Spurs, like as long as they play well and the players give passion and effort and determination and fight for this team. If you lose, you lose. Do you know what I mean? If you're beaten by the better side, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think pisses a lot of people off is over the years we've seen Spurs not try. And for some reason, we've seen the players give no effort, no passion. Do you know what I mean? And that's where I kind of maybe you're seeing.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to jump on properly. Let me just get set up properly. I'll jump on properly for the rest of the show. But give me 5 minutes. I'll be back.
No worries. Callum, while we wait for Dave to come back, what are your thoughts on the Friday night game?
Are we going on the game or the 4 Arsenal commentators that were on there?
Mate, you choose. Up to you.
Yeah,
it was a very boring game, and I think I was messaging all of you saying what the hell was going on, because Richarlison had one of not his greatest game compared to the form that he's been on in the last probably 6 to 8 weeks, which was a shame. Johnson looked good, apart from the end product, and obviously, me and H have been going around seeing people on Twitter with very strong opinions on Johnson and all.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time on that today.
Yeah, wow. I've been trying to keep out of it, mate. I'm not getting involved on this one, but it seems like the team had control but didn't gel properly, and obviously Burnley's low block was something that held us back. But I think we had all the creative prowess that we needed. It was just some of it which didn't look like it was coming to fruition. And if it was me, I would have rather seen like a Bentancur, Lo Celso midfield with Kulu in the 10 and then playing Johnson and Richarlison as 2 front men straight running up there instead. But having 2 wingers on there, I mean, was it Taylor that came off with a shoulder injury late on for Burnley? I thought he had a cracking game for them. He was brilliant. Great. He really marshalled Kulusevski well on the right, and then when Johnson moved out that way later in the game, it was a boring game. It was like watching the Sheffield United game when we played them in the Prem a couple of months ago, and it's one of them where on another day, Burnley probably should have scored that last minute equaliser, and it would have probably been something they deserved, I would have said. But ultimately, we're through. But it's not a game that I'm going to go back and rewatch on ITVX or iPlayer and all that crap anytime soon. Let's put it that way.
No, and I agree, mate. I've bashed Richie a lot, and he has improved over the last few weeks. He definitely has, but I think that he showed last on Friday night again, like those qualities I don't like from him. There was a few poor touches, balls over the top. First 10 minutes of the game, I reckon he was through 2 or 3 times through behind the back line, and unfortunately, he's just not the quickest for that. And at that point, I don't know if you remember Brennan Johnson being through and the touch that he made that was perfection to be able to continue his run. Okay, then his end product, as you say, kind of wasn't its best. But we needed that from Richie at that moment because that was the only way he was going to get past their back 4. And he's just not quick enough. He's just not quick enough. And we'll move on to Timo Werner in a minute after we've spoken to Dave. But that's what he will bring. And that's what we will see more of. And that's what we need, I think. But Dave, coming back to you now. You're ready. What were your thoughts on Burnley?
Werner, mate, to be honest, like 18 months ago, under Conte or Mourinho or whatever, I probably would have been like, why? What are we doing? But when you look at the way Ange plays and you look at the system he plays and the style of football he plays and the progression, the pace in behind, Werner is perfect for that. Like, he's perfect for that. I mean, he can't finish his dinner sometimes, which doesn't really help. He is perfect for that role. I'm kind of hoping that it doesn't spell the end of like a Richarlison or someone. I think with our squad, you've got Brennan Johnson, who's raw. Like, he's raw, but he's going to come good. But he is very raw at the moment. Sonny, Kulu, they can play anywhere pretty much across that front three. Richarlison is still kind of the same, but I prefer him in the middle. Obviously, Solomon's injured. So I think Werner makes complete sense because he's an extra option. All everyone always says about Tottenham is we've got no depth, or we get an injury, we're in big trouble. We're adding depth. What more do you want?
Yeah, 100%, mate. 100%, and that kind of like moves us on. We might as well now just get straight into all of like the transfer chat. Obviously, we're going to try and bring as much transfer stuff as we can throughout the window. Shows, little videos, clips, whatever we can kind of pull together over the time between us, we will do. But H, I know you did a video for us on our TikTok channel, and if for those of you that aren't already on our TikTok channel, just make sure you go over at Park Lane Pod. You will find it. Talk to me about Sarr's new contract, because it's something definitely that like this lad deserves, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge. It's absolutely huge because it's good to see the club thinking about the long term. We all want to do well now. We want to win now and get places now, but you also, as a football club, have to prepare for the long term. And contracts such as Doggy and Sarr committed till 2030 really represents the club thinking about the future. I think it's something that I can personally admit that has been missing recently. I've gone, where's this for the long term? Because for me, there's still a massive gap between the first team and youth academy. So players that are ready and really like above where they should be for their age, way ahead of their development schedule, like Sarr and the Doggy. For me, I knew Sarr was going to be an excellent player when I watched him at the San Siro and in the North London derby last season, where the team didn't perform under Conte in both games, but he was probably the best player on the pitch. And that says something when you're the losing team in both games. So he has a bright future, and I'm just glad it's at Tottenham Hotspur. So really clever move.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And I don't remember the exact figure of what he was on, but I don't know, it's something along the lines of £10,000-15,000 or something like that, right? It's like minimal compared to compared to what he should be on. So I think it's massive. Kallum, talk to me about Eric Dyer to Bayern Munich, because like we heard this one, like I would say a few months ago, like there's kind of whisperings about it, but the most hated man on Spurs Twitter has suddenly become probably the most liked man on Spurs Twitter after he mentioned regarding a few different things, one of them being potential of Eric Dyer to Bayern Munich, and that's the bell end that is Pletty-Goal.
Oh, good old Florian. Good old Florian. It's a very difficult one, because if you believe all the tabloids, whereas over the weekend, Pletty-Goal was, it's all done and confirmed. Tuchel wants him, this, that. He's already going. Yeah. Now, when you look at it, and that Dyer's actually the backup option. He's been recommended by Kane to go, apparently, because they're mates. But they actually they've either got Dyer who plays a centre-back, or there's a PSG bloke, Mukiele or something like that, who could play as a right-back and a centre-back. Comes with a higher price tag, 4 years younger, though, and who would probably be a better fit for them. But, I mean, if Dyer was to go, I think we all have to be aware that he's been here 10 years. He has been a very loyal player to us, and he has had some good times. He's had bad times, but Spurs have had bad times as well. And since joining the pod, I've never fully appreciated what Dyer can do. And when we think back of how well when he played alongside Alderweireld and Jan, when he played alongside Dembele in midfield all of them years ago, he was a baller. He was a very good player. And when we had him and Wanyama playing in the centre alongside Dembele, they was bossing midfield. It's just that I think because of Dyer's versatility as a player, it hasn't really helped him. And because he's not the most agile, he's a bit of a Neanderthal looking so-and-so as well. He looks like evolution didn't hit him on that one. That we've got some bits for it. But no, I think him going out to Germany would be a good move for him. I think that it's probably too late for the Euros to go ahead. But if he does go, I think we should all say thank you very much, like what we did with Hugo. And I would hope that if he does go, that we give him an honour like Hugo did as well. He was still one of our vice captains for a long time. He was always dependable. He was always there. It's only been this year that it seems to be that he's been injured. And obviously, Dave, I know you're shaking your head. Let me rephrase it. He hasn't always been dependable, but he's always been there or thereabouts. For 5 million, he's been a steal of a player and all that. And I just think that we held on to him too long as well. When he was his market value was 50, 60 million, should have flogged him to Man United and gone, there you go, you got Maguire, you can have Dyer. Fuck you, you're going to have the best or shittest centre-back pairing in the league and all that for it. But no, I think for all his faults, he should go with open arms, and we should be happy that if he does go, that we can get 5 million back for him as well, because we ain't actually lost anything.
Yeah. No, I do agree to some degree, Callum. I think you put that across like really well, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts actually, Dave, on this in a minute. Like, because if you look, I think his career at Spurs went downhill the moment that he jumped into the crowd and tried to start fighting someone. The moment that happened, he seemed to just fall off the face of the earth for Spurs, and he has been versatile at Spurs, but that's probably also been his downfall as well. Came in as a defensive midfielder, played right back, moved to centre back, and that's where he's kind of been for a long time. I still see him, in my opinion. I think he's a better player in a more defensive midfield area who can cover, who can mop up stuff, because he is all right defensively. He's just not cut out for an Ange Postecoglou centre back. He's not quick enough. He's not got enough going on up here to be able to switch on and know in the moments. When I saw him, the last time I played, which was quite recently for Spurs, he just seemed to kind of like hoof the ball out of play and like not really know where he needed to be and what he needed to do. And
that was Everton. That was the Everton game, mate. That was the bloody Everton game, weren't it? Right at the end, where he got skinned by Danjuma.
But what are your thoughts on Eric Dyer, Dave?
How can I put this eloquently?
Maybe 10 years.
It's time to take out the trash. Is probably the nicest thing I can say. I don't think age is. I don't think time has been kind to Dyer. Most centre backs age well and perform better. He has got worse and worse and worse over the years, to the point where he is just a liability. I remember Conte coming out and saying, he can be like Maldini or Nesta or someone like that. And I'm sitting there looking at him going, you're a football manager. You're the only person that can see that. Like, what the hell? So I think, he's been a good servant. I do think he's been very protected. You talk about that midfield with Wanyama and Dembele. Them two carried him through that midfield. You talk about that back two, Jan Vertonghen and Alderweireld. They carried him through that position. You talk about him at right back. He didn't play there much, and he was shocking when he did play there. So I'll be honest with you. Yeah, good servant. Should have took 50 mil when we had the chance. But the reality of it is when you look at the Tottenham team, it's time to be ruthless. I couldn't give a shit if you're a good servant. I couldn't care less. If you don't fit the mould and you don't fit the squad, bye-bye. Stop picking up your money for free. Give that money to someone like, Sarr, someone who is on 10 grand a week or whatever, or was on 10 grand a week. Get him out of the club. Send him to Germany. He'll suit the German league. It's slow. It's a very methodical league. Bayern dominates. So he's not going to have much to do at the back, is he? Let's be honest. And he'll look unbelievable because he'll kick loads of clean sheets because he has nothing to do. And I think they want him as a backup defensive midfielder for Kimmich. That's what I've heard. I think he's going to be a bench player there as well. He's probably Preston level right now.
To be fair, if
he's career though, to spend time at Spurs and then end up, can't even get into Spurs team, but don't worry because you've got to move to Bayern Munich.
Oh mate, his agent, it must be Houdini. I'm telling you.
No, his agent's
Reminds me of
bloody
Danny
Charlie
Rose asking
Kane,
about
ain't
that.
It's pretty
it's gotta be
Charlie
Harry
Kane,
Kane's
ain't
club,
it?
isn't
Yeah, it's all right. He's got 2 clients now, but no, I mean,
Yeah.
apparently Bayern could lose Kimmich because he hasn't signed a new deal with them. So imagine
Yeah,
if
that's right.
they have bloody Dyer as their
Eric
new
Dyer.
CDM.
Oh mate, could you imagine? Could you imagine if they put Eric Dyer in and he costs them like the Champions League final and Kane wins nothing or something like that? Oh god, that would be. And we go and win the FA Cup. That would be unbelievable. That would be unbelievable.
Little cheeky end of contract swap deal.
Yeah, that'd be nice. We'll have Kimmich, you can have Dyer. Yeah, but if that's the case, if we're going to be looking at a swap deal, then Eric Dyer is the best DM in the world. He's unbelievable. You know, they got to
Kimmich
snap him
ain't got
up.
no legs now.
No.
No.
That's why
Nobody
I
wants
said time
him.
hasn't been kind to him. It used to be power and aggression, and then you look at him now, and you brought up the Everton game, and Dan Juma made him look like a 45-year-old centre back with no legs.
Yeah.
You know, it was awful. The minute
and Juma's pretty shit as well.
Yeah, exactly. The minute Romero went off at half time and Dyer came on, we crumbled. And I think Ange took one look at it. I think what it was with Dyer, right, is who remembers pre-season against Barcelona?
Yeah.
Yes.
Eric Dyer came on the pitch. Dyer came on the pitch and he was woeful and they ran him ragged. And I think Ange made a decision there to say, yeah, you know what, I'd rather play 2 fullbacks at centre back than you bloody liability. You know what I mean? So that's all we need to know.
H, as a younger member of the group, I kind of want to hear your thoughts on Eric Dyer quickly.
Are you? Right, he's been a good servant, personally. Let's start being nice. A good servant. I mean, as you said, 10 years. However, I do have to agree with Dave in terms of...
Barry.
Yeah, there you go. See? Been used to watching my TV screen. I'll leave it up to you whether it's a good thing or bad thing. But I have to agree with Dave in terms of as the years have gone by, he's got slower, less mobile. And for me, we saw that Wolves game. Sarabia came on the pitch, right? He completely embarrassed Dyer for both goals. You could argue that Dyer's at fault. He's just slower, loses his man, puts the ball out of play, things like that. So for me, I think he's had good years under Pochettino. We spoke about Mourinho, even under Conte. And I think they've all kind of liked him because he gets stuck in, gives 100%, and he's like a warrior, basically. That's why I like Hoiberg, Dave, you see. But yeah, over the years, obviously, he's got slower, etc. So I don't think moving to centre-back has necessarily helped him. And him in a high line is like your worst nightmare. And when a manager plays 2 full-backs at centre-back, you're really not fancy. So I feel a bit sorry for Dyer.
Ben Davis.
Yeah, and then Emerson Royale. I mean, you feel hard done by. So thank you very much, Dyer. It's absolutely time to move on, and it should have been done earlier. Like Dave said, this is a player that should have been sold to Man United, but at the same time, maybe Spurs thought he's going to get better and better, and his value will go up. So it's one of those things in football. Fine margins, you made the wrong choice, and you stuck with him. So he should have been moved on earlier. But I'm grateful.
Can I just say something really
to Johnny quickly? Johnny, do not leave. Stay. You cannot spend your life coming on here and laughing at Spurs when they lose, and then not come and be a man.
Three losses in a row, Johnny.
Can I just say, right? How refreshing is it that we're actually getting rid of the dead wood? Things like Hoiberg, Dyer. We're shipping out the dross, which to be honest, we've never really done. We've held on and held on and held on to players, but it looks like we're finally shipping out the shite and replacing them quickly. I mean, when the hell have you ever gone into a January transfer window and on day one a signing comes out of nowhere, even if it is Timo Werner or this Dragon guy, whatever his name is, comes out of nowhere and Spurs are almost signing 2 players? You're like, what's going on? Has Levy been swapped for someone else that we don't know about?
Yeah, it's. Do you know what? It's just nice to see, isn't it? Is that something that they've decided to do with Ange? Has Daniel Levy really kind of learned from all of the years of failures and mistakes? We've seen a lot of turnaround, right? We've seen Scott Munn come in, we've seen the new director of football come in, we've seen new scouting people come in. Kind of whole structure in that side of things has been happening behind the scenes. And, we're now seeing new contracts nice and early for these young, talented players, long contracts as well. When was the last time we've seen anyone kind of with a 6-year contract? It's been a while, I think.
Kane. I think
And
it's Kane.
We seem to be getting rid of these players. Yes, okay, it's probably too late because Eric Dyer goes in a free transfer. So whether we get anything for Eric Dyer is probably nothing.
Apparently, it's about 4 million.
Do you know what? He's probably worth a pint. So what does it matter?
Yeah. To be honest, for me, it'd be worth letting him go on a free and just getting rid of his wages. That's worth a lot in itself because he ain't going to play. So what's the point in holding on to it? But let's move our attention to Dragon, or as we should call him, Dragerson. I don't know if that's how you say it, but that's how I'm going to say it. Who knows anything about him? Because I do not. All I know is he's a centre-back and plays for Genoa. Actually, keep your hands up if you'd ever heard of him before he'd been linked to Spurs.
Hang on a minute. He plays Football Manager. That's the only reason he's heard of him.
Yeah.
I play Football Manager and I've never heard of him. I'm not scouting little Romanian centre-backs.
So go on then. Tell us more.
Yeah, go on then, Callum. Talk to us.
Big arse centre back. He's very big. He's like about the same height as Van der Ven. He's actually another ex-Juventus player. So he was on Paratici's radar when he obviously first came in, and then when he was at Juventus, because I believe he was the one that bought him as well. The one problem that I have with Dragerson is that he idolises Vlad Kirikesh. And I don't know whether you guys remember. Him, but he classes him as the best centre back that Romania's ever had. So that was very concerning.
Wasn't he?
Yeah, the when you wanted the Beatles and you get the Jackson 5 instead. But no, he's very much a quick recovery centre back. The only problem with him is that he's very young. He's another raw prospect who's been in the game quite a few years, but it's only really his second top season as a player and all that. He's done a lot of bouncing around in the lower leagues in Italy, different bits like that. But no, he looks like a good player, to be honest. I
don't mind that. I don't mind. Do you know what? Can I just say something, Cal? And the whole second season thing doesn't really bother me too much because I would have said the same about Vicario. Only his second full season, and he's, in my opinion, he's been the best shot stopper in the Premier League this season by a country mile.
Yeah.
It's too dramatic over my liking, Vicario.
Oh, come on. He keeps looking like the back of the net. That's his job, Luke.
I love it, mate. I love it.
There's times when he parries it like dramatically for absolutely. There was one against Burnley actually, and for no reason at all.
I saw it.
Yeah.
And Dooney cut in, didn't he? Yeah, but that's all part of the theatrics, mate. Like, I love him. Like, you look at him at the end of the game with Sessegnon, for example, and he's shaking Sess, like, sort yourself out. What you're playing at, that's what we need. But back to, let's hope I pronounce this right, Dragerson.
Yes, that's it. And who knew so thanks, Johnny, for telling us that. Who knew that you were from Romania? So good to know.
Just to be fair, just a quick one on Vicario. It does kind of look like a confused praying mantis half the time at the end of the game. He just kind of looks like he's just scuttling about like that when he's run about. But no, Dragerson's an interesting one. He's definitely more of a raw talent that can be moulded into something because there's always going to be that rash moment. He's got a wayward tackle in him as well. But I think he could be another one who could play on the right side of Van der Ven if we wanted, because we know he's going to get more game time considering that Romero has about 3 suspensions in him a year. So I'd definitely say that there's something there. I would have rather Todibo, but if Ange wants Dragerson, Todibo was going to be a 60, 70 million pound centre-back because Seville don't want to sell. Simple as that. So all of us, all the people going, we should get both of them. Well, no, it's not Seville, it's Nice. If Nice have upped his price tag from 35 million to 70 million, if all the tabloids are to be believed, surely that's telling you they don't want to sell him. They're in the middle of chasing him.
Yeah. You know what it is? It's Ineos. Ineos own Nice, and Ineos now own part of Man United, and United want Todibo, so they'll increase this price to stupid amounts to put off Tottenham, and they'll go to United for about 40-45 mil. I'll guarantee it.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. So that's definitely going to have an impact. But Nice are in a title battle with PSG anyway. This could be the first time that PSG could maybe not win the French title in about 6-7 years. So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, I'd rather Todibo. But if Ange wants Dragusin, like he wants all of these players, they all say that he sets the profile, not the player exactly, but the profile of player that he wants. And if Spurs are going to back at Ange, like we're all saying, we've got to trust in Ange. If he wants him, then we need to go and get him. And the same with getting rid of Deadwood as well.
Dragusin is left-footed, isn't he? And Todibo's right-footed. Have I got that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I've
I think so.
never heard of the guy. I've never heard of him.
To me, having two left-footed centre-backs is a good thing because we've been struggling and crying out for a left-footed centre-back before we signed.
It's the same thing, right? And everyone's always like, "Oh, we signed." You know, who'd heard of Van der Ven before we signed him?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I'd never heard of it. He played one season a game. Mr. Football Manager. Even Vicario. Do you remember when they were uproar? Luke, me and you defended Vicario so much at the start of the season when everyone was like, "Oh, he's going a bit of cheaper option because he had a bit of a dodgy debut." Me and you were like, "Hang on a minute, he looked all right. He didn't look that bad." And now look at him. You know, he's flying. So, you know, it's one of those ones where if Ange is choosing a profile of a player that he wants and that he wants to sign, the players he's signed will be, they've worked. You know, the players he's signed, there isn't anybody you can say, "Oh my God, that's a huge failure so far." He's come in, he's assessed everybody. He's got people like Jed Spence, you know, he's done for at Tottenham. You know, people like Højbjerg, Dyer, they're done for at Tottenham. And he's reinvigorated other players. He's made other players, you know, better. So,
Dave, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, you can.
What have you seen from Højbjerg that puts you off so quickly? Because he was excellent under Mourinho, and I think, you know, really excellent under Conte. And in a defensive system, he really works. For me, it's just a case of he doesn't suit the system, but his ability is up there.
So for me, Højbjerg has always looked like a clumsy footballer who rates himself too much. He does a lot of this. He does a lot of shouting. He doesn't really do much else. He hasn't really ever been very progressive. So, for example, you know, in the position he'd play in, even under Conte, they'd want him to pick up the ball and turn and play it to an attacking player, for example. Højbjerg would get the ball and he'd knock it back to the centre-back, get the ball and knock it back to the centre-back, which all in all makes his pass stats look unbelievable. But the reality of it is he's passing 3 yards every 2 minutes. So, in my opinion, personally, I don't see him. I think he's a good player. I'm not saying he's awful, but he's not if you want to challenge, you want to progress, you want to get to that next level, Højbjerg is not the player you need.
In my opinion, do you see his pass against Burnley though?
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Nobody else done it in the game, and I was like, "Oh, fine, some of the game."
Aleo Velis had one leg and Højbjerg passed to him.
No, that's stupid.
You know, so the reality of it, you know, your argument to bunk there. But what I'm saying, Harry, let me ask you a question, okay? If you're picking a starting 11 under Conte or under Ange or anyone, and you had to pick between Højbjerg and Basuma, who are you choosing?
I'd honestly, being honest with you, I pick Højbjerg because I think Basuma's a liability at the moment. But Basuma's ability is at another level, but I want to be on the pitch with 11 men to give you a better chance of winning the game. Basuma needs to calm down. But Højbjerg, I like it. He fights, he has the aggression, he's a leader. And I just love that. And we also, Dave, you can agree, right? This is why I personally would keep Højbjerg. When you need to see out a game, Højbjerg's a very clever player. He knows, I know he may go backwards, but he knows how to keep the ball.
He's that intelligent. He passed to a player with one leg.
No way. Dave, he'd break up counter attacks. He's that clever player. I think every club needs it. See,
I think the only reason that he knows how only way he knows how to control the game is that he don't know how to pass to another player. That's why he keeps hold of the ball and cuts out counter-attacks, because he don't know who to bloody pass
it to. So weird killer, isn't he? Look, I respect your opinion. I respect your opinion. I do respect your opinion on Højbjerg, but we're never going to agree, mate. We're never ever going to agree on that point.
No, we're not, are we? Yeah, let's face that.
You know what? I'll chime in as well while I'm here.
Oh, here we go.
Just, you know, I appreciate, like, obviously all your points. I think, you know, you can't take away that Højbjerg in an Antonio Conte defensive system was all right, and he did well, right?
He was not joint best player, Harry Kane. All right.
He was good. In a progressive attacking system, there's no place for him in. I don't believe there's a place for him in this squad. I think that Ange knows it, and he likes to see out a game with him. But he started him over the Christmas period. I can't remember. I'm getting confused on which games I've seen now, but he did start him over that period, and I don't think he
has more to his game than Skip. So why would you sell Højbjerg and keep Skip? Skip's the one for me. He needs to go. Højbjerg is more about him, knows how to see out a game, and Premier League and more experience.
Because Skip's got nothing for me.
Yeah,
it's easier for the.
He's that quota, and also I'm not Skip's big. I like Skip. I'm not his biggest fan, but I think he is a little bit more progressive than Højbjerg, personally. But like I said to you, I don't hate Højbjerg. I don't hate Højbjerg, Harry. But I've never seen Skip pass to someone with one leg. That's all I'm going to say.
If you've got a midfield of James Maddison, Bentancur, Bissouma, Sarr, and then it goes like Skip, Højbjerg. Do you know what I mean? They're like
Lo Celso.
Oh yeah, Lo Celso. So you got what? 1, 2, at least 5 players before you get to that.
To you, Luke. My question to you is, how do we see out a game? We'll go. I don't know. We get to. I don't know. Let's the FA Cup semi-final. We play someone at Man City. We play really well. We go 1-0 up. How do we?
We don't. You need that Ange doesn't play games, love. Doesn't play football like that, and that's what you got to remember. Ange doesn't see out games.
But he's done it at times this season where he's gone right now. It's time to flip the switch. And Luton was a very key one. 10 men. We need to get behind the ball.
The problem is because he didn't have any other option and all that. Because if you look at the games that he's had to play out and all that, most of it's been over the last 2 months where he's had no Maddison, no Van de Ven, no Romero, Doggy out at times, Bissouma out, Sarr out.
If you feel hard done by, you go for pretty much the first or second name on the team sheet under your Mourinho, and then you go to one of the last.
Him and Dyer got a little club, haven't they? The Crybaby Club.
I'll take it for them. I still think you need them.
Him, Dyer and Lloris all sitting there, the old leadership team and all that. Imagine what do you think that would have been looked like in that training room, considering that it's gone from them 3 and Kane, with all of them potentially leaving within 6 months, and you've then got Bissouma, Maddison, Romero and Son, who seem to be the 4 go-tos, who are Ange's lieutenants as such, and he's captain. What must that say to you? I mean,
you're not wanted.
It is a very big culture shift, though, and it shows that Spurs are backing Ange as well. It's what we've all been calling for, and
it's exactly what we needed, though.
Yeah, me and Luke, me and you were the first people I remember, even on this pod, we banged that Ange drum, saying chronic. Do you remember? Me and you were like, I'm all for Ange. The Scott Munn connection made sense. We banged that Ange drum, and everybody slated us. Everybody was like, no, he's never managed anyone decent. But, back to the Højbjerg point again, and I know you say Ange likes to, I've never seen Ange see out a game. Even if he brings on a player like Højbjerg, he still expects them to play on the front foot. He still expects them to play ball to feet, etc., and knock it around and try and create chances in progression. So Højbjerg just doesn't fit anymore. He doesn't fit in this squad. He fits under Conte. Look, Conte might get a job somewhere and he can go be with him, or say the Roma, and go be Mourinho again, and they can tell him how good he is.
Right. Anyway, let's move on and talk about our newest, or will be our newest signing, Timo Werner, on a 6-month loan deal with an option to buy for what I was reading earlier, between 17 and 18 million. There's different amounts. People are saying 15 to 20 million euros. I read earlier 17 to 18 million euros. Whatever it is cheap if there's an option. He plays well. If he doesn't play well, he can just go back to Leipzig and waste the end of his career. Now, I'm going to go around the houses and kind of get everyone's opinion on this. But I said yesterday on Twitter, I was like, there is zero risk in this deal.
Yep.
Everything about it makes sense. We need a striker. We need an attacker. With Son out now, we desperately need an attacker. What you've got on Timo Werner is the potential to have early Leipzig before Chelsea Timo Werner, or you could end up with at Chelsea or.
But he wasn't that. His stats at Chelsea weren't actually that bad. No. That's what you got to remember. They weren't that bad at Chelsea.
Yeah.
He just missed a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But let's go round the houses. As you spoke first, Dave, we can go to you. What are your immediate thoughts on it?
I'm all for it. Suits Ange's system to the ground, zero risk. If it works, we sign a player on a cheap for 15 to 20 million euros. If it doesn't work, it's cost us Eric Dyer's wage. So the reality of it is it's zero risk. It's not a panic. And everyone's saying, oh, we sold our best striker and we're signing Werner on loan for 6 months or whatever. But we were going to take a gamble on him. I liked Werner even at Chelsea. He worked hard, and that's what we need. He worked hard. He like bags of pace. But like I said to you before, sometimes he can't finish his dinner. But
Can't
let's
stay on
look
side
at
either.
well, let's look at Richarlison, for example. Right, when Ange first came in, Richarlison couldn't finish to save his life. It was awful. So if Ange can work those wonders with Richarlison, who looks like a different player now, by the way, and I was all for the Richarlison, he's not good enough, but now I'm starting to like him. But I think if he can do that with Rishi, why can't he do that with Werner? And if he turns Werner into a player that gets 5, 6, 7 goals or whatever in 6 months, and they prove to be big goals or 5 assists, what's the problem? If he comes in and does nothing, he sits on the bench as an additional player with a bit of pace to get in behind, and we send him back to Leipzig. Where's the risk?
Yeah, but there isn't any. And Callum, I'll come to you next because, as Dave said, what we need in this squad, in this Ange Postecoglou squad, is we need hungry players that are ready to make an impact. He needs this for his career. This is the thing that makes this loan so good. He's at a stage in his career now where he has to prove himself again. He has to be able to say, I am still the player that can play at high-end level of football. And whether that is at Spurs or whether that ends up being elsewhere or at Leipzig, he's now got a chance. And what Andrew would expect from him is passion, effort, determination, all the rest of it. Do you expect that from him? I know you were kind of against it yesterday. Have you changed your tune on it?
A little bit. I definitely think that he's got a point to prove, and especially with the Euros coming up as well, he's got to play well because Germany have enough young forwards or older forwards who are in way better form than him this summer, who are probably a lot more likely to go to play for Germany there. In terms of the baseline, I think that, yeah, it's a low risk. It's got potential decent value. He can do it in the Prem, but I honestly don't know, mate. I think that, yeah, it's all well and good that he wants to come and wants him to play. So I'm hoping this isn't going to be a club signing. And the first press conference after we get him in, if it is going to happen, say tomorrow or Tuesday, if Ange does a press conference Thursday and Friday, I want him to say, I wanted Timo Werner. Because if it comes out as being another club signing, then I just know that it's the club just going and shipping around, finding a cheap player, like what they did with Danjuma last year, Spence, all of them, and not giving the manager they want. So it's not about Werner itself. It's the principle of the signing that I want to make sure that the manager actually wants him, because if it does, then it means he's going to play. It's going to give a striker who's out of form a chance to play himself into form. And that's going to be my main concern until I know that it's definitely an Ange signing to it.
Yeah. From what I've read from Fabrizio Romano, and we have stolen his catchphrase on this show and in the title, so we should at least give him some kind of appreciation, I suppose, begrudgingly. But according to him, Ange Postecoglou wants him, and there was a phone call with Ange Postecoglou that made him want to come. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, Callum, but I do have to go to Harry because he's got to leave in a couple of minutes. So, Harry, is Timo Werner's versatility what Spurs expect from him? And I don't know if you remember Timo Werner from kind of like 1920 season. Yeah, like
was that at the game,
not
Champions League game, they won 1-0 and he scored. I remember Timo Werner. But yeah, I think it's, like Dave said, it's risk-free. It makes sense. That's why I don't really get people moaning about it, because it doesn't work. It goes back to Leipzig. But it's got that I love Richarlison, right? And you know that. But for example, against Burnley, I looked at him and went, he lacked that pace. Every ball that went in behind it was perfect, in particular from Johnson. And you go, where's the pace? Burnley's defence isn't quick anyway, and he was making them look quicker. And then, he doesn't always finish his chances. So at least with Werner, you would know he'll get in the right positions. There'd be a lot of goal contributions, and he just needs to work on the end product. And people say, he can't work on your end product at 27. Look what he's done with Richarlison. Right? I like him, but he's a different player to be signed. The more likely to finish chances in better areas, tracks back more, and just kind of mini transformed him. So I'm all for the signing. 6-month loan works out. We sign him, and it's just that good addition. And with Elise out injured, I think it had to be done. So very, very clever signing. I definitely think Ange wanted him. Callum, you put the question forward. I absolutely think it's an Ange signing, because if you think of it, the pace he's got in the system, it makes so much sense. And just going back to Jokerson as well, he has the pace and the versatility at 21. Big physical presence in the box. I think personally we can improve on set pieces, so that's really good. His recovery pace, as Callum pointed out, is excellent. So these players, I think, could be carefully chosen to suit the manager's kind of needs and wants of the system, which is really good to see. And because we signed players like Ndombele, Spence, people really excited about, never really worked. So I think the recruitment's really, really improved recently. So hopefully for Werner it works out.
Yeah, just really quickly, did you see about the Valise injury, Harry? Did you see it happen? What did you think about that?
I don't know if I really saw the injury, because there's kind of a lot going on at the time, but it didn't look good the way that he went down. Obviously now out for 2 months, and like I said, I like Højbjerg, but why does he pass him? As a player, surely you see someone limping, and for Lisa's sake, he didn't help himself and just go down. He's trying to play on, and he probably extended.
You know what? I wasn't even going to mention the Højbjerg thing. The reason I mentioned it is I was going to say was you made a really good point with Valise being injured about being a smart signing, but as you mentioned it, we saw him get injured, but Højbjerg didn't. But anyway,
I don't know what Højbjerg's thinking.
Right, Harry, you do have to go. So two things I need from you actually before we go, because I haven't told anyone about this bit, is I want you to give me your score prediction for the Manchester United game. And I also want you to give me, we're having a new feature, it's called Star Player. So predict your star player, and then we'll come back and we'll see how each of our predictions for star players got on in the next
I'm assuming
match.
Star player is someone who stands out, doesn't necessarily have to score, just stands out.
What was the star? Yeah.
I'm going 1-1 between Man United and Tottenham personally. Does it have to be a Tottenham player or not? I mean, I'd like it to be.
What, star player? No, it could be anyone you like. It's just for a bit of fun. Like if you said Vicario and then he's letting 5 goals, it'd be funny.
Garnacho. I think Garnacho will score and look really dangerous. So 1-1. Garnacho. I do rate it.
Sure, I'll spell that. There you go. Harry. Perfect.
Thank
you very much.
Just put garlic bread and hope for the best.
Cheers, Ace. I'll see you soon, mate.
Thank you. Big up. Nice to see you back, Dave. Thank you, guys. All the best.
See you later, Jake.
Bye, mate. Oh, I didn't even get to tell everyone where what he's promoting this week. Unlucky. Anyway, let's move on. Where are we? So we've talked Timo Werner. Let's just go straight in and talk Manchester United then. Callum played Manchester United already this season, and we did all right. How do you reckon we're going to get on this weekend coming?
Well, we can't play any worse than we did against Burnley, I would hope, to be honest, because I would hope that a few players are back. My main concern is going to be centre-back now, because with Davies potentially out injured, Dragason's not going to come in quick enough to be thrown straight in.
Back, though, isn't he?
Yeah, Van der Ven is, but remember our right-sided centre-back option. Emerson Royale, great.
Yeah, but I reckon against Van der Ven, he'll be all right. With Van der Ven, not against him. With Van der Ven, he'll be all right.
I'm hoping so. I reckon that United still can't score and hit a barn door from 2 yards away. All their players look like they want to leave or just lynch mob Ten Hag as they go along. So I hope that we can do something right. Concern's going to be probably, like I said, centre-back or actually us taking our chances, because I don't think Werner will go straight in. So I would still say it's going to be a Kulu, Johnson and Ritchie front line as well. It's going to be midfield that might be interchangeable, but I hope he goes Lo Celso and Bentancur in there. And or Bentancur and Skip with Lo Celso or Kulu playing as a 10.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, and I think you're right there. You know, it depends on what we'll get from this Manchester United side. Depends if we're going to get the Manchester United side who we have seen, you know, a couple of decent performances from. You know, Harry just mentioned Garnacho. Then, you know, even Marcus Rashford, they can attack with pace, and they could hurt us potentially on the counter attack. But if we get the Manchester United that, you know, are playing awful football and that can't string 3 or 4 passes together, then we could have an absolute field day. And which one do you think is gonna happen for us, Dave?
Well, a couple of my mates are Man United fans, so I'm kind of hoping the shocking United turn up first half against Billy United, because I think we'll overrun them throughout the whole team. You know, they're bloody awful, aren't they? How has Ten Hag still got a job? They are shocking, like so bad. But so I generally think we'll overrun them. I think we'll beat them. I think we'll beat them quite comfortably. Where is it? Old Trafford.
Yeah.
We'll beat them comfortably. Don't care where it's Old Trafford or not. They're shocking that even there. So I think he's on borrowed time, and I think we could put that final nail in his managerial coffin.
Yeah, do you know what? My brother's a Manchester United fan. I was asking him this question the other day, and he's probably not like the kind of like most passionate Manchester United fan. Like, he used to be a season ticket holder, but you know, he's had kids and all the rest of it, and over time he's kind of stepped away from football as much. But I was talking to him about it the other day, and he genuinely was like, "What do we gain from getting rid of Ten Hag? Like, we just start this process all over again and again and again and again." He blames the players more than he's blaming Ten Hag, and I wonder how much that is in, you know, the
But he
United
bought the
fan.
players.
Like,
They spent 80 million on Anthony, right, Mister
Yeah.
Pirouette, as I call him, and they shipped out Alanga to Forest, and he's got 0 goals and assists all season, Anthony, and Alanga has got more goals and assists than Anthony. So, you know, the reality of it is you can blame the players all you want, but the players that they brought in are Ten Hag players. He's just bought in players from the Dutch league that he thinks are, you know, for really big money, you know, and not utilised them in any way, shape, or form. Anthony does not look like a Man United player. He looks like he should be playing for Crystal Palace or someone like that.
I was going to say, did any of you guys read the article the Athletic released on the Man United situation? And what they did a deep dive into the background of Ineos and where the Glazers have been and all that. And they said that Højlund and Anthony were both valued at a certain figure by intermediaries and scouts. So Højlund had a value of about 40 million. Anthony was valued at 20 million. And somehow United have ended up playing 90 and 90 million for them. The most they should have gone to was 50. And everyone was going, even Atalanta wanted for Højlund in the summer, 50 million. And they've ended up going for 70 plus 20 in add-ons and all that. I don't think it's Ten Hag completely. I reckon it's got to be, well, Murtog, who's their director of football, is a pile of crap. He's really bad. It's like going back to the Franco Baldini days and all that for us, where he just buy dross out of nowhere. I think the whole thing about Man United is wrong from the top down. It's not just players or manager. It's the whole ethos, the ethic of the club. It's not a football club anymore. It's just a business. But I can't really say anything because that's what Spurs are now as well, to be honest, because, you know, one time we praise Levy, he'll go and spin something or other where we end up, Ange wants a player and he ends up going and getting option 29 instead of option 1.
Yeah. But, you know, hopefully those days are gone as well. And that's really interesting, actually. To be honest, mate, I try and avoid anything that David Ornstein writes or is associated with in any way because I think he's a bellend. But anyway, plus I'm not paying for the Athletic. I don't pay for a lot of things. But anyway, let's go straight into our score predictions. And Dave, I'll come to you first. What are you saying away at Manchester United?
2-0, Tottenham win.
How much?
Star player, Brennan Johnson.
2-0.
2-0, star player, Brennan Johnson.
Okay. Kallum, what are you going for?
2-1 Spurs, star player Kulu.
Okay, 1 second. I forgot we were doing that already. Brennan Johnson. And then you're saying Kulusevski. Okay. I can't spell today. Right.
Just right, Kulu. Just
Let's have a think. I'm going to go mental. I'm going to say 3-2 Spurs.
3-2.
Yeah.
High
Do you
scoring
reckon
game.
do you reckon we've got enough goals in us?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Do you know what? I'm going to give it to Richarlison. Richarlison, star player. Let's see how we get on. So we've got 2 secs. We've got 2-1 Spurs win from Callum. We've got 1-1 draw from Harry. We've got 3-2 Spurs win from me and a 2-0 Spurs win from... I don't know why I wrote David down on your name. Dave. And then we've got star players of Garnacho for Harry, Brennan Johnson for Dave, Kulusevski for Callum, and Richarlison for me. Cool. So, just before we finish, there's one last thing to talk about. Well, actually, 2 quick things to talk about. Number 1 is score predictor table. So the scores for last week were 3-1 Spurs for me, 2-1 for Winnie, 3-1 for Dave, 2-0 for Callum, and 4-1 for Harry. Everyone got 1 point because Spurs won. So that does this to the table, leaves me at top on 20, Callum on 11, Winnie on 17, Dave on 14, and Harry on 13. Winnie's going to be away for a little bit on the show, but he should be back soon. So he's just got a lot going on at the moment. So hopefully he will be back very soon. But looks like Dave's on his way back, which is lovely to see.
FPL.
Dave, do you have any FPL updates quickly?
Yeah, I'm top still, mate. To be fair, no, I'm gonna give you some credit here, Callum. You're not bottom anymore, mate. You are currently second bottom, but that's because somebody joined a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, so you're not actually bottom anymore. So I'm flying the flag for the podcast still. I'm well out of the top. I think about 10 points clear, which is nice. Heading into a break. I think Winnie and Luke are battling out in about 7th to 8th. And then you've got Harry, who keeps leaving his best players on the bench at about 13th. And then Callum, you are not bottom, but you are the tail end of the donkey.
There you go. Short and sweet, and everyone loves to see Callum at the bottom of the table. Anyway, Callum, I'll come to you then first because that kind of wraps us up today. So just want to thank everybody for tuning in today and for all your comments in the comment section and everything else. Much love to you all. Callum, how can everyone find you?
As always, mate, thanks for having me on again. And at Callum Stubbs 97 on Twitter. I've been trying to keep off of Twitter as much as possible, but we will always see how it goes in the transfer window, mate.
Lovely. And thanks for coming on again, mate. And Dave, been brilliant to have you back. Sorry to keep you for so long. How can everyone find you?
Park Lane Pod Dave. I'm also active on the Park Lane Podcast Twitter. So any questions, fire them to either of those, and I will come back to an answer. I'm quite active on Twitter. I spend half my life on there with nothing else to do. So, yeah, I'm always active, always about. So any questions, fire them over, and I'll see you all probably soon.
Perfect. And if you want to follow me, you can follow me at Luke_Park Lane. But more importantly, across all social medias, follow at Park Lane Pod or Park Lane Podcast, depending on where you're searching. Just search it all and you will find us. And we'll be back next week at 7 p.m. Sunday night for more Spurs content. But until then, a massive thank you all very, very much for tuning in, and a big come on, you Spurs!
Come on, you Spurs!